C2C stands for Concept to Competence, started in 2008. And our goal is really to be a trusted OD partner for organizations that really want to be a learning organization.
Isn't it a very kind of overcrowded space, the leadership development?
It's crowded because there's a suite of offerings there, and it's great for the buyer because they can really look at what each one does. So what I often say is there's still a large percentage of companies that are vanilla. Right, that are pure vanilla services. The organizations that can differentiate are the ones that do bespoke solutions, really spend time understanding what the client's needs. I often say, as much as time you spend on the intervention, you sometimes have to spend 2x of it on working with the client and engaging that. Yeah. There's a lot of off-the-shelf providers who just close the deal, go out, deliver, and walk out. So you have a variety of companies to work with. Yeah. And the maturity is, a lot of them will work with the off-the-shelf, and then they say, that's great. We want something a little bit more evolved as well as their maturity grows. Our space still in India, has to stabilize first, right? And see who can sustain over a long period, who can manage. So today it's really about the organizations that will be successful is the organizations that can focus on the return on investment. I think that's a big change in today's economy.
How do you build that model for your clients, basing it on return on investment?
We actually say there's three things. There's return on investment, there's return on interaction, and there's return on engagement. So there's three types of returns. So part of that is you can get a great return on investment if you're able to engage and interact a lot more. The return on implementation is a big thing, right? So it's no longer just an event. That's what I'm saying. A lot of the vanilla companies just do learning events. We do learning solutions, which can last 6 months, a year. We have a vested interest to make sure that there is a return on learning.
Looking at your buyer, looking at your sales cycle, looking at your business model, what are those challenges that you say, this is just because we are in the teenager stage, but it will get sorted out?
We have clients sometimes that just don't understand the value of all the engagement side. So I'll give you an example. We said, just came out of a meeting yesterday, where we said we want to speak to the business, we want to speak to all the stakeholders, we'd like to do focus groups, and they're like, and HR was telling us, yeah, but we know what the needs are, that's such a waste of time, let's get going. And I was really trying to explain to them that we need a 360 here. Just like you guys do 360 in the company, we want to come in and understand from all the different stakeholders what your needs are. So trying to convince the organization that those are value adds, and obviously getting them to pay for these things is a challenge as well.
So how do you see that willingness to pay for intangible work that obviously has a return on investment, but some of it is actually really difficult to measure?
You're absolutely right. I think it's the maturity of the organization. We're seeing that the ones that are more mature, that really have a long-term focus, do a lot better. Those that tend to be much more Q basis, they're looking at what they can do this quarter. We don't see them appreciating the value, let's put it that way. So we work with a lot of forums and stuff like that, and we try and connect the HR community with each other and say, look, why don't you talk to these guys and see what's the value of this? And we step out of that conversation. So that works sometimes, not always. There's a lot of business pressure, which we completely recognize. I think every organization is trying to do more with less. And we are saying we want to do more with not just nothing, but with slightly more as well. So that's a challenge at times. We're engaging with organizations that want to do more long-term stuff. That it's not necessarily a budget issue. They're saying, look, we have a less budget this year than we have last year, but we want to use it more wisely. Can we sit down and partner with you? We want to use a more ROI method. So we're seeing, I think, this do more with less, making organizations get mature faster. I think as a result, companies are moving up the value chain, and they're forcing providers to move up the value chain, and not all are able to. The general perception is that travel budget is the first one that's cut, and learning budget is the second thing that's cut. Probably true. We are not seeing that. I also think the slowdown is a good thing from a people side, because when you're growing extremely fast an organization as an economy, you're only doing lip service to things like succession planning. You're promoting people really on a lot of potential. Are they really prepared to operate at that level? So when the economy kind of slows down its growth, you can step back, take a deep breath and say, okay, where am I as an individual? Where are we in terms of our talent? Attrition slows down, all of that stuff, so you can take stock of your competency. So the smarter organizations, we actually are investing smarter at this time.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign for us. There's great talent out there. Some of the talent that's coming into our organization is coming from our client side, in fact. There are people who are also taking these slowdown as great opportunities to say, sit back and reflect, what do they want to do in their lives? What's the skill sets they have? So some of them are coming on board. Still, I always tell, we're a country of 1.2 billion, but sometimes trying to find that one right talent.
Correct.
I'm sure you guys face that as well. Trying to find that one person is always a challenge.
So do you feel that talent challenge is India specific, or you feel like when you look at your Singapore market or your China market, same challenge?
I think there's a lot of parallels with talent between China and India when you look at these two. And I think it's really symptomatic of countries and organizations that grew very fast, very quick, that developed capability, they developed execution focus, not necessarily strategic and operational focus. So great execution capability in both, but to step out and look at it big picture, strategic thinking, that's the area that we're spending a lot. So there's a parallel there. I think Singapore is a lot more mature market. Yeah. It's a smaller market, but we're seeing parallels in, say, Philippines, in a Thailand, in a Malaysia, in the Middle East market as well. So I think we had a lot of efficiencies. I think it's now about effectiveness.